Mr. Murdaugh, did you take this gun or any gun like it and blow your son's brains out on June 7th or any day or any time? Did you take a 300 blackout, such as this, and fire it into your wife Maggie's?
Alex Murdaugh's descent from power is one of the most bizarre and disturbing legal dramas we've seen in modern American history. This was a man born into a family that basically owned the South Carolina justice system, a dynasty of lawyers feared and respected across the Lowcountry. But all of that crumbled in spectacular fashion when tragedy, scandal, and a stunning series of lies shattered the Murdaugh name beyond repair.
Sir, I want to let you know because of the scene, I did go get a gun and bring it down here.
It's in your vehicle? Do you have any guns on you at all?
No, sir. It's leaning up against the side of my car.
Okay. You're fine, man. You're fine. Turn around for me.
I don't have any guns.
Okay. Yes, sir. I see that. Okay. This is your wife and son?
And son.
Okay.
Let's rewind to June 2021. Murdaugh's wife Maggie and son Paul are found brutally murdered on their sprawling hunting estate. No suspects, no clear motive, and no answers. Then just 3 months later, Alex claims he was shot in the head while changing a tire on the side of a remote road. At first glance, it looked like an assassination attempt. But when the story started to unravel, things got darker, fast. As investigators dug deeper, the so-called victim quickly became the prime suspect in multiple crimes. Not only had Murdaugh allegedly staged his own shooting in a failed suicide for hire plot to secure a $10 million insurance payout, but he was also accused of stealing millions from his own law firm and clients.
For years, you were stealing money from clients,
Yes, sir. I agree with that.
and that you were stealing from your law firm,
Yes, sir. I agree with that.
and that had been going on since at least 2010.
I'm not sure of the exact date, but it's been going on a long time.
This man faked his own murder to cover up years of financial fraud and deception.
Did you tell Agent Owen and Agent Craw, did you lie to them by telling them that you were not down at the kennels on that night?
Yes.
By October 2021, the House of Cards collapsed. Murdaugh was arrested and hit with a barrage of charges: insurance fraud, conspiracy, filing a false police report. And that was just the beginning. Suddenly, the double homicide of his wife and son didn't seem so unrelated. And now we're about to see the interrogation that could hold the key to everything. With Corey Fleming leading the interrogation, the pressure was on. And if there's anything we've learned from this twisted saga, it's that nothing about Alex Murdaugh is as it seems.
All right, sir. Alec, I appreciate you coming in today. I know we got a lot to talk about. You have millions of questions. But before we get started with your questions, this has been going on for over 2 months. And we've done a lot of work.
I know you have.
And I've got some more questions that I need to get clarifications on.
Sure.
Okay? So we'll start with that.
Wait a minute. Hold
Yes,
on.
sir.
Maybe I'm mistaken. I thought we were coming here so you could update him on what's going on.
And I intend to do that as
Okay,
we
let's
go.
do that first.
Okay.
All right, let's do that first.
The update is I'm doing the investigation, and I have some questions that I would like some answers to. And I mean, certainly, if I ask the question, if you don't want to answer it, you don't have to answer it.
No, I'm fine with that.
I mean, it's more clarifications of the 2 interviews you've already given me.
Totally understand.
Okay.
Just wait 1 second.
Yeah.
Wait 1 second. All right. I need for you to tell me, are you going to give us information, or are we just here for you to ask questions?
Now, I'm going to give you some information.
Right. Why can't you give us information first?
Some of the information that you're asking about are in my questions. And as we go through, you'll see.
Okay.
I don't mind. I know you
don't, but I can't. I mean, I'm a friend, but I'm also a lawyer, and I like to know what we do. I like to understand what we're talking about.
Detective Fleming laid out the usual rundown of how the interrogation would go, but let's be honest, This isn't just any suspect sitting across the table. This is Alex Murdaugh, a former powerhouse attorney who knows exactly how these things work. And that means the investigators had to bring more than just their A-game. They needed to be 2 steps ahead at all times. Murdaugh didn't waste a second before flipping the script, throwing questions back at Fleming like he was the one in charge. But before he could take control of the room, another detective stepped in and shut that tactic down immediately.
As a suspect. Because it.
Good. Say.
Because I'm not comfortable with you asking him questions as a suspect when I came here with the thought that you were going to be telling him where you are in the investigation, what it is you've done, seen, uncovered, whatever. That's why we came here.
Well, let me respond to your question. Yeah. It may not be a direct answer that you're looking for. Mm-hmm. And I've told Alec this when we first met. Any homicide investigation, mm-hmm. you start with the closest person and or the person who found the deceased. Mm-hmm. Both cases, that's Alec. Mm-hmm. Everybody stays in that investigation until we can get them out. Mm-hmm. And right now, because of the questions that I have that I need explanations for, I cannot get Alec out.
Okay. Right. That's a reasonable statement. I don't have a problem with that statement. That's fine. I don't read it, but everybody in the United States of America has an opinion on this case. Mm-hmm. And because I know everybody, I know it's a bunch of bullshit. I can't imagine that y'all are going to be asking about nonsense in the internet.
No. No. Well, I mean, just like you, I'm aware of what's out there. Yeah. I have not read every article. I don't care to read every article because they're not doing the investigation.
That's right. I am. That's right. That's right. All right. Well, Alec, if you're comfortable and you feel okay,
yes,
then that's fine. But
anything to help.
All right. That's fine.
Right from the start, the detectives weren't letting Murdaugh play any power games. They made it clear they were running this interrogation, not him. Once that was settled, the questioning officially kicked off. The tension in the room was thick. Murdaugh, a man deeply familiar with the courtroom and legal maneuvering, kept his cool. But the detectives knew exactly what they were up against. They stayed sharp, watching for any signs of deception. It wasn't long before the whole interaction turned into a tactical chess match. Detectives pressing for cracks in his story, and Murdaugh carefully dodging anything that could put him in a corner.
Anything to help.
All right, that's fine.
So I want to go back to Monday morning, and you went to the office.
Okay.
What time did you go to the office? Who was at your house when you left? And what time did you go to the office?
We had been to a ball game that weekend. I don't remember exactly what time. It would have been somewhere between 8:30 and 9:30, probably. Okay. 10 o'clock maybe at the latest. Okay. Something like that.
And when I ask about time, I'm not saying it was 5:11 or something like that. I just
totally understand.
I mean ballpark.
That's
as close as you can get to it.
And if you need to know exactly when, there would be a keypad that would tell when exactly I went in my office.
Okay.
That I can get for you.
Okay.
So
you have a key fob to get in your office?
A card.
A card.
Yes,
perfect.
Sir.
Okay.
But a little bit. It was probably a little bit on the later side of that. I guess I know Maggie got up early to get out of there because she had an appointment in Charleston. I just don't remember if I left right after she did or I piddled around.
But, and I already know that Paul stayed at John Marvin's that night, so it was just you and Maggie at the house.
That's correct.
And I know when you were at the office, you were working on motions, and some of those motions you dealt with were for Paul's, the boat accident, or the boat case.
I'm not really doing the legal work.
I understand, but you know, you're Paul's dad, you're a lawyer, you're definitely going to know what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, so what were those motions? I mean, did it deal with Parker's, or was it the actual boat accident, or?
It was the civil case.
Okay. What time did you leave and get home?
Earlier than normal. I'd say 5:30.
That's when you left the office?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What time did Paul get home that night?
Me and Paul got there about the same time.
Okay.
Maybe he was a little bit later than me, or maybe a little bit earlier than me, but it was close to the same time.
And y'all rode around the farm. I believe you said 2 different trucks, or 2 different vehicles.
So,
What were those 2 different vehicles?
we rode in the white pickup truck, and we rode in the black pickup truck.
In either one of those, did you see any long guns? Take your time.
It's okay.
Did you see any rifles or shotguns?
I don't remember seeing any that day, no. We did have pistols.
Yeah, because I know you said you went target practicing.
Well, not really target practice,
Okay,
just shoot.
Yeah.
We rode around for a couple hours, just looked at everything. All the stuff Paul did on the farm, and we just spent, time together. I'm sorry. No, don't apologize.
When the topic of his son Paul came up, the facade started to slip. Murdaugh broke down in tears, recalling a memory of going target shooting with Paul, pistols only, no rifles or shotguns in sight. The moment was raw, and the detective, picking up on the emotional weight of it all, grabbed tissues for him. It was one of those rare human moments in an otherwise strategic, high-stakes interrogation. Something that reminded everyone in the room that behind all the manipulation and crime, there was still emotion tangled in the mess.
I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize.
Hey, you can do this? I can do it. We started out going to look at the sunflowers because we was worried about the sunflowers. That was the first thing we looked at, and then we just rode. We just rode and looked at. I mean, we hadn't done it in a while. We just rode, talked, and rode, talked.
What you talk about?
Everything, just one of the main things, he'd been having trouble, his feet had swelled up, and we were worried about blood pressure and stress on him. And I mean, he handled all this stuff so amazingly, but I mean, we were just so worried about it. But I mean, we talked about that, we talked about the farm, we just talked about everything.
Has Paul been seeing a doctor for his feet?
No, sir.
So y'all trying to get him to go?
Trying to get him to go.
He was resistant?
Yeah, he had been resistant, but much less so after his feet swelled up. I mean, he'd been having all kind of little problems, but much less after his feet swelled up.
As parents, I'm sure you and Maggie stayed on him about going. How did he respond to you?
To going out?
No, going to the doctor.
He didn't.
When y'all talked about it.
he's very resistant, very, very resistant. I mean, we talked to him about seeing a doctor, about the stresses of everything with the boat wreck. He didn't think he needed to do that. I mean, we tried to watch him really closely. But he was resistant.
What time did Maggie get back home that night?
Later. I'd say probably, the best I can tell, a couple hours after we got there.
When you and Paul returned back to the house, was Maggie there?
I can't remember if Maggie came by the shed when Paul and I were up there, or if we met her at the house. But, you know, it's not unusual for her, if we're messing around, for her to swing through up there.
Mm-hmm.
Details emerged about Paul's health. He'd apparently been dealing with issues, but was reluctant to get medical help. This added another dimension to the case. Suddenly, investigators were looking at not just what happened, but why. Paul's condition and mindset could have influenced events in ways no one had initially considered.
So Maggie was supposed to be coming home. I've since found out she was worried about me, and me worried about my dad. And so she came home.
So at that point in the interview, she said, did he tell you she came home because she was worried about his dad?
Yes.
Basis for the objection.
Leading, he just repeating what the jury just heard on the video.
Yes, sir.
God, I can play it and come back and ask him to clarify that. That's all. Go ahead, please.
Go back.
But Maggie was supposed to be coming home. I've since found out she was worried about me, and me worried about my dad. And so she came home.
Where was she going to stay that night?
At Edisto. We were having work done down there. And I wasn't 100%, but it's pretty well she was going to stay at Edisto.
So it kind of surprised you that she came back?
That didn't totally surprise me. She'd let me know earlier that she was coming home. But then I found out later why she came home.
She was concerned for you.
Sir.
What time did y'all sit down and eat dinner?
Not too long after that. Blanc had made dinner. And so the three of us ate dinner together.
What was the conversation around the dinner table?
Normal. Regular stuff. I mean, I can't tell you exactly, but...
How was Maggie's appointment in Charleston that day?
I think it had gone good. We didn't really get the chance to talk about it in detail. She's been having a couple little medical issues. I can't even remember which one. It wasn't anything huge. I can't remember exactly which one she went for.
And after dinner, Maggie and Paul went to the kennels, or?
You know, I don't know exactly how that went. I stayed on the couch and I dozed off. So, and then I got up.
Did you watch TV that night?
I know the TV was, I believe the TV was on. But I wasn't watching it, you know. I mean,
Stop right there, please. I'm not going to ask you to repeat that, but this next question regarding a tree video, had you confronted him with that before?
No, sir, I had not.
Okay, please go ahead.
There is a video on Paul's phone of you and him on the farm that night, and you were in khaki pants and a dress shirt. You were playing with a tree.
I don't remember playing with a tree.
Yeah, I guess there was a tree sapling or something that had fallen over or bending over, and you were trying to get it to stand up. But I mean, the question in that is, when I met you that night, you were in shorts and a t-shirt. At what point in that evening did you change clothes?
I'm not sure. It would have been.
Before dinner or after dinner?
No, it would have been. What time of day was that? I would have thought I'd already changed.
There's not a time.
Is he asking you now what time that picture was?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Go ahead.
I was tapped on it because there's so many posts, but I want to say it looks to be about dusk. So that would have been 7:30, 8 o'clock.
I guess I changed when I got back to the house.
Earlier when we spoke, and you talked about waking up from your nap and then going to check on your mother, and you tried to call Maggie and you tried to call Paul, and then you sent Maggie a text that you were going to check on your mother. You also told me that Maggie didn't normally go with you to check on your mother, but that she might ride that night. Did you go by and check on her?
Go by and check on my mom?
Maggie, before you left to go?
No, I didn't.
With her not responding to you and thinking that she might ride with you, why didn't you?
I don't remember having plans that Maggie was going to ride with me. But maybe she had told me that she was that night. I don't recall that. I don't remember that specifically, but she didn't normally go with me. I mean, it's not like we had plans that she was going to ride with me, or that she was going.
Another piece of the puzzle dropped. Murdaugh had been visiting his mother regularly due to her Alzheimer's. That detail painted him as a devoted son, but it raised eyebrows when it came to Maggie. There was no indication she ever joined him. That absence? It didn't go unnoticed. Investigators flagged it, wondering what it might say about the state of their relationship and how that could tie into the broader picture.
These are just some maps I pulled off of Google.
Okay.
What route did you take from Moselle to your mom's?
I would have gone to the right on Moselle Road, 63, into Barnville, turn left on the road, right before 278, 601, and then in front of the school, turn right. That's how I believe I went.
Should right on Moselle to 63.
No, sir. Right on Moselle.
Yeah.
Normal way. Right on Moselle to Dobson Road.
Okay.
Dobson Road to 63. 63 into Barnville. Left on whatever the road is that goes to the school. Right. And then either 63 or left on the road that goes down and then on 63.
How often did you go visit your mother that night?
I mean, it wasn't infrequent. It wasn't all the time. I mean, visit her, all times a day.
Checking on her, especially with your dad being sorry.
She had been having a particularly, she's got Alzheimer's really bad, or pretty bad. And she had been particularly agitated. With him not being there, and checked on her more in the days and weeks following my dad's passing than, otherwise, but several times a week, any time.
How long would you say you were at your mom's that night?
45 minutes, an hour.
Had you talked to Shelley Smith at this point?
She had been interviewed, yes. I had not spoken with her by that time.
45 minutes to an hour.
Yes, sir.
Please go.
You had to get back home. You make any stops on the way?
On the way there,
On the way to your mom's work on the return trip back home?
stops. No, I didn't go anywhere. I went straight there. I did not. No, sir.
And earlier in the day when you were down at that shed in the kennels with Paul, did y'all discuss any injuries to any dogs?
Did he and I? No, but Rogan Gibson told me about the dog's tail, and somebody saying his leg was broken.
Stop it, please.
Which one's his dog?
You turn up Mr. Orange's volume.
Video.
Yes. Or turn up the volume.
Any dogs?
Did he and I? No, but Rogan Gibson told me about the dog's tail, and somebody saying his leg was broken.
So right here in the interview, your question was, did Paul tell you that? So did he deny that he'd had a conversation with Paul about that?
He never said he had a conversation.
What if anything, did he say about whether he'd had a conversation with Paul about that?
He didn't indicate that he had a conversation with Paul. He said he had a conversation with Rogan Gibson.
That he'd heard that from Rogan?
Yes, sir.
Which one's his dog?
It's a chocolate puppy, I think.
Okay. Was the leg broken?
Not that I know of.
I can certainly see why something might be wrong with his tail, because when I was out there, he was chasing his tail and putting it through the fence and trying to grab it.
Yes, sir.
That was all that puppy energy. When you got back to Moselle, which driveway did you enter?
I went into Brick Gates.
And Maggie and Paul weren't there. Were there vehicles at the house?
Yes, sir.
How did they get down there that night?
I was hoping you were going to be able to tell me that.
The only thing that I can come up with is that black truck. Is that Buster's old black truck?
Yes, sir.
Does it normally stay down at the farm, or does it stay at the house?
Both.
Both. Did Maggie ever walk down there?
Maggie walked down there a lot. But Paul, if you showed me some proof that Paul walked down there that night, I would be surprised. Absolutely surprised.
Well, thinking about Paul's health concerns, do you think Maggie could have gotten him to walk that night? Say, come on, let's walk with me this one time.
It's possible, but again, that would be highly, highly unusual. He would have talked her into riding. Been highly unusual for him to walk.
So when you were at the kennels, you were just down there with Paul. And you left and went back to the house for dinner.
Paul and I were just knocking around up at the shop, the shed, the kennels, and just the whole property. And that was before dinner, yes, sir.
And you didn't go back down there after dinner until you returned trip from visiting your mother?
Yes, sir.
As the detectives drilled deeper, Murdaugh began his usual dance, dodging, deflecting, never giving a straight answer. When asked about Paul's connection to the kennels, he acted like it'd be rare for his son to go down there, especially after dinner. Classic misdirection. He positioned himself as the grieving father swept into an unthinkable tragedy, but the detectives weren't buying it. They knew.
That's it. Keep going.
I've got information that Paul was on the phone.
Had you confronted him with what you're about asking prior to this?
No, I had not.
And the question you had just asked him, did that deal with whether he went down to the kennels or not after supper?
Correct.
And he said he had not.
He had not.
Okay, go ahead, please.
And Maggie was heard in the background. And you were heard in the background. And that was prior to 9 p.m.
I heard Rogan Gibson ask me if I was up there. He said he thought it was me.
Was it you?
At 9 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
No, sir. Not if my times are right.
Who do you think it could have been?
I have no idea.
And Rogan's been around your family for pretty much all of his life.
Oh, absolutely.
And he recognizes your voice, and you have a distinct voice. Do you think of anybody else that has a voice similar to yours that he may have misinterpreted?
No, sir. I mean, you know, when we were talking, he had asked me that. So, I mean, he had told me that he thought I was up there.
Did that surprise you?
Yes, sir.
So when you returned back to the kennels, when you returned home from your mother's, where were the dogs?
They were like they were when I didn't put dogs up.
Okay.
So
they weren't running loose?
However they were.
Okay. At one point in the 911 call, you say here, like you're talking to somebody else or something else.
I say here?
Here, yes, sir. So the dispatcher is asking you if they're breathing, and you said no. And she asked did you see anyone else in the area, and you said no. She asked about guns near them, and you said no. And then you kind of stutter and start moving around, and you say here.
I don't have any memory of saying that. I guess I'd have to listen to it you know, but I don't recall a dog being out. I'm certain that there was not a dog out. You know, I mean, there's other things people have told me about that 911 call that I don't remember. I don't know here. Like I was calling a dog.
Calling a dog, talking to somebody else. I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Yes, sir. And I mean, that obviously was nobody else out there.
Okay.
And I'm things on the internet that, you know, just but nothing new, no sir.
So during the 911 call, and we also talked about that that night, you returned back to the house to get a shotgun.
Yes, sir.
What door did you enter?
The best that I can remember, I went in the side door, and I went straight to the gun cabinet.
Were you focused on any particular shotgun, or you just grabbed one?
I just grabbed one.
How do you normally load your shotguns? Avid hunters load shotguns special ways, different types of munitions, and I'm just asking you how you load yours.
I mean, I normally put it in the chamber and push the button.
What type of shot do you load?
All kinds. I mean, I've loaded bird shot, buckshot, slugs, skeet shot.
At the same time? I mean, would you load like a bird shot and a buckshot in the same load?
Not normally. I mean, normally you're putting in, you know, a load for whatever you're hunting.
Mm-hmm. The reason I'm asking about that, the shot shells that we recovered that night, one was a turkey load, one was buckshot.
I understood that.
The shotgun that you had with you that night, there was a bird shot and a buckshot. When Jeff went back the next day, I'm not sure which attorney it was, pointed out that there had been a shotgun laying on the pool table that he had put away, and pointed out that ammunition that was with that, and it was a buckshot and a birdshot. And then the shotgun that we took for potential comparison, it was also loaded with a birdshot and a buckshot. So I have all of these consistent loads along with what's that in the feed room. I call it the feed room at the kennels. Is that what you call it?
That's
Okay.
something good enough.
Okay. I just want, if I say feed room, I just want you to know what I'm talking about.
The night I grabbed the shells that I could get my hands on, I don't, I had no idea exactly what I had.
Okay. Also, when we talked, I asked you if it was normal to keep guns down at the kennels. And you said you would have to check. Have you been able to check to see what was missing from your collection?
I have, yes, I know what's missing from, what I believe is missing from our guns.
Okay. And what are those?
There's 3 guns that I think are missing.
Okay. And what kind of guns are those?
It would be a Benelli shotgun, a Browning shotgun, and a pump shotgun.
The Benelli and the Browning, are they pump or autos?
The Benelli and the Browning are automatic.
And the pump shotgun, what brand is that?
I believe it's a Remington, but I'm not positive.
Are they like standard brown and black, all black, or camo?
The Benelli is black. The Browning is camo, and the pump is camo.
Would you have those serial numbers recorded anywhere?
I don't have them recorded, but I'm sure. I don't know where the pump shotgun exactly came from, but I should be able to have the Benelli and the Browning.
Okay.
Then came the missing weapons, firearms and ammo gone, including a Browning and a Benelli shotgun. No serial numbers, at least not initially, but the ATF got involved, logging them for tracking. Matching shell casings were found at the scene, raising serious questions. The detectives zeroed in, grilling Murdaugh about the specific types of shotgun ammo, trying to pinpoint the likely murder weapon.
It was whatever Christmas he got it, so it was 17, Christmas of 17. So it was the Halloween after in 18 is when Nolan believes it was taken out of Paul's truck. There was, and it would take me a while to find those notes, but Mark Williams or Matt Williams is a family friend, and I may have the name wrong, but there was hundreds of people at this Halloween party. Nolan says adults were there, kids were there, and Nolan knows that the gun was in Paul's truck when they got to the party, and when they went to leave the party, it was gone. So that's the timeline on when that gun goes missing.
Okay. I mean, I knew it had been a while.
And then I think in April of 19 is when, April of 18.
Christmas of 16, January
Okay.
17 is when they did the
Gotcha.
work.
Gotcha. Another part in the 911 call, you made the comment, I should have known. And the questioning that surrounded, dispatcher's asking, is anybody else supposed to be at the house? And you said, no ma'am, please hurry. And she says, we're getting somebody out there to you. And your next comment was, I should have known. What are you referencing in that statement?
I don't remember saying that, but I guess, all the threats and, I had been convinced it just was something to do with boat wreck and, all of that.
Did Paul ever get physical with you? Ever get into a heated argument and get physical?
One time, a little bit where he wouldn't listen to me.
Did you ever get physical with him?
No, sir.
How about Maggie? Did Paul get physical with Maggie?
No.
Sure, she probably wanted to at times.
I'm sure she wanted to with all of us.
Yeah.
And the one time Paul did that, he had too much to drink.
Mm-hmm.
In a very isolated incident.
Where was that? Was that at Moselle or Edisto?
That was at Moselle.
So that was pretty recent?
No, sir. It had been.
Things got murkier when it came to Paul's truck. It looked like some guns may have vanished from it just before a Halloween party. But then Mark Baldwin chimed in with video evidence. Paul dropping off the choke, no rifles in hand. Maggie backed that up, saying Paul always kept guns in the truck. Murdaugh? He kept playing coy, tossing out carefully worded answers that never really gave the detectives anything solid. Untangling the facts from fiction was proving to be a nightmare.
No, he wasn't into ball as much.
One thing that I'm trying to understand is your timeline. You said you probably went to the office 8:30, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and you left early around 5 or 5:30. And there's been some other timelines or times that we've talked about and you can't quite remember what the times are or what time of day it was. When the dispatcher asked you when was the last time you saw Maggie or talked to Maggie, you said an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. To me, that's, a set, without thinking about it, you rattled off that time. We're sitting here trying to figure out a timeline.
The question was, you told the dispatcher hour, 2 hours ago?
Hour and a half to 2 hours.
Hour and a half, 2 hours. What time was the 911 call?
10:06 p.m.
Hour and a half, 2 hours prior to that.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
And you're having trouble coming up with a specific time.
Oh, that's fair.
Tell me again what I said to the dispatcher.
You said an hour and a half ago, probably 2 hours.
And what time was that?
That was when you were on the phone, and the 911 call was made at 10:06. So given 2 hours back, that would have been 8.
I think that's probably about. I think that's probably about right. And so, what do you believe I'm giving you an inconsistent answer?
No, I'm just trying to wrap my mind around it when I'm asking you what time you went to the office that day, what time you got home.
Can I ask you a question?
As the session wore on, Murdaugh's memory started to crack. He couldn't recall certain times or events. His story got fuzzy, inconsistent. Where was he after leaving the office? What happened next? The pieces didn't line up. At one point, he went dead quiet and just said, "I don't know." The detectives didn't miss a beat. That was the break they needed. They pressed harder, sensing something was slipping through.
Maggie first, or Maggie was shot first?
Alex said that he thought Maggie was shot first because she had been shot in the back of the head.
Go ahead.
We may honestly never know who was first, but I think it was Paul, for the simple fact he wouldn't have, if he saw his mother getting shot, he wouldn't have run to that feed room. And that's where one of the guns was. But, we've already established family guns were used. And if they came from Paul's truck was at the house. So where were they?
And how did they get down there?
And how did they get down there?
Did you just ask him, we've established family guns were used?
Yes, I did.
Objections overruled. Proceed.
What was his response?
Sorry.
Would nothing be the answer?
Correct.
Go ahead.
I mean, it's normal for y'all to leave your keys in the cars. However, if somebody showed up and did this, you're not going to take Paul's truck back to the house and leave the key in it.
I mean, do you,
Just right before that question.
And how did they get down there? We've already established family guns were used. And if they came from Paul's truck was at the house. So where were they?
And how did they get down
And
there?
how did they get down there? I mean, it's normal for y'all to leave your keys in the cars. However, if somebody showed up and did this, you're not going to take Paul's truck back to the house and leave the key in it.
I mean, do you know that the guns were in the truck? I mean, could they have been somewhere else?
They could have been somewhere else. I mean, he didn't have his normal truck.
And I understand that Nolan Tootin believes he saw the gun 3 weeks beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't talked to him, but is he believes it was the one that, not the one that was at the house?
I think it was a Benelli was his shotgun that he always kept, that Paul always kept with him.
Paul primarily he kept one of a couple of Benellis.
Yeah, it was a camo Benelli. Is the last one that Nolan saw.
Okay.
And HDD, some type of 7mm rifle.
Yes, sir.
Do you have that one at home?
Yes, sir.
And then came a bombshell. The murder weapon might have come from the family's own arsenal. Paul's truck being at the crime scene raised a critical question. Where did the missing guns go? Sure, it was common for the family to leave keys in their cars, but if the guns were already missing, why leave the truck unsecured? The more Murdaugh talked, the more he boxed himself in. His mask was slipping, and the detectives knew it.
The only thing that we can go off of are the cell tower dumps, or the FBI was out and they were out on your property on Friday riding around trying to get some cell phone data. Unfortunately, all of that takes time.
And y'all had to send because his vehicle's new, you had to send that off.
Yes, sir.
So it's not like when we hire experts to come in and just download it.
It's 2021 and they don't have the systems for it yet. But they're creating a system. from what I understand.
Okay. Now, I don't know exactly how the OnStar thing works. I know how the control module works. But this is something different, right? Or is it all contained in the same thing?
There are two different systems that we took out.
Yeah.
One is OnStar, and the other one is the telemetry system or infotainment center.
Yeah.
And the FBI says there is information there.
Yeah.
They just have to be able to extract it and put it in a report.
Sure. Okay.
So
So you're just waiting for that?
I'm waiting on the search warrant from OnStar
Okay.
to see what kind of information they can give me.
Good.
You need us signing something expedites that. I told you we'll get. I don't own the car, but whoever we need to will sign whatever authorization you need.
Okay.
So you had said that, or maybe Jim told me or something about y'all were able to get in Paul's phone just with a search warrant.
We have a what they call a partial download.
Yeah.
Because we don't have the passcode.
Sure.
We can't do a full extraction.
Do you think so? You know, my thought was that I don't know who's required to authorize Apple to open it.
Mm-hmm.
I know there was that big thing where they weren't going to do it
Yes,
for whatever case. But I thought that if we, I think Maggie owned the phone. I think it was in her name. The account was in her name.
But you have to have your own separate iCloud account for each phone, and we've done that for Maggie's, Paul's, and Alex.
Okay.
iCloud accounts.
Yeah.
To see if there's anything in there.
Yeah.
There was nothing in Paul's. I'm still waiting on Maggie's.
Maggie did back hers up and stuff. I know that.
Does that mean Paul didn't back his up?
Probably.
But what my thought was, and I don't know if this is even possible, but if we get the estate and we get the personal representative who is now the authorized person to authorize it to be opened. I'm surrounded by 100 lawyers. We get a probate done like that, and I can have the powers of appointment done in 2 days, and we can authorize whatever it is you need to open.
And that might be beneficial.
So
I think Randy and I, or somebody and I, talked about that before.
Yeah. Well, and I said I'd do it. Any of us could do it.
The FBI stepped in with some serious tech firepower. They tapped into telemetry data and OnStar from a linked vehicle. Just days before the interview, agents had been at the property scooping up cell phones, digging for anything that could shine a light on the timeline. With access to the estate's systems, the feds were pulling every digital breadcrumb they could find. This was no longer just a local case.
Look.
Nobody wants to know more than this man right here and this man right here.
I know.
Everybody else.
I believe that.
Everybody else.
David, how far apart in time were the shot? Did one of them know the other one was dead or had been shot?
I think it's impossible to answer that question. I think it is impossible.
But you certain Paul was shot first?
I believe he was. I'm not certain. I believe he was.
Maggie would have known that then, wouldn't she? You don't know how soon afterwards she was shot?
And it all depends on how many shooters were there. If we're looking at two shooters, it could have happened at the same time. If we're looking at one shooter, it would have happened. And I know you can't help but think about it, but don't beat yourself up over getting the answer. It's not going to do anything to you.
When I ask you, now that you talked to me, are you willing to if some of my family, Maggie's mom and dad or sister, are you willing to talk to them?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I'll meet them where they want to.
It would
I
be
mean,
easy
I
if
know-
you could meet them
And
faster than that. Yeah.
No, I mean, I live in Charleston, so it's
Yeah.
nothing for me to shoot up to Somerville and meet with the Brandsters.
Thank you. I know y'all are doing everything you can. And I don't take any personal offense at you asking me these questions. I know you got to do what you got to do.
Well, I mean, and I hate to give any credence to the media, but with the media keep throwing you in there, then
You gotta ask the questions.
if I can get every bit of evidence possible that's going to exonerate.
When you get my car stuff, that'll help.
All throughout the interview, Murdaugh kept trying to put on a show, sniffling, pretending to cry, but the detectives weren't buying it. No real tears ever came. They stayed locked in on the shooting and the mystery surrounding the missing weapons. One weird twist? Apparently, he and Maggie never discussed any of the missing items, except for some talk about drills and Milwaukee tools. For someone facing unimaginable loss, the conversation topics were suspiciously mundane.
Specific scope on it.
I don't know if you had, or we asked, when was the last time that gun had been seen? Do you know of?
I know that we looked for it around the Christmas holidays. Or we went to get it around the Christmas holidays. I asked about it around the Christmas holidays.
Of 20, this past Christmas
Yes, sir.
holidays? Okay. And that was the replacement, what I guess we call it.
That's correct.
Okay.
Still trying to figure this out. I cannot exclude the boat incident and those involved. I know that y'all are currently going through the civil portion. How far had that progressed? I mean, were y'all in the talks? Was it breaking down?
Can I say something real quick? I know nothing about the any of that stuff, and he's represented by lawyers in that case.
Mhm.
I don't think I personally believe he shouldn't be talking about that unless the lawyers he's represented by participate. I don't think it's. I mean, I'm sure that they're happy to do that, but I don't think that the person should be talking about a pending action like that without their lawyers knowing about it. And what, because I know nothing about it. I'm completely so.
Murdaugh had legal backup in the room. His attorney wasn't about to let him dig his own grave without a fight. Anytime it got dicey, the lawyer jumped in. But even with someone covering him, Murdaugh was struggling to keep the innocent act going. The web of lies was getting too tangled to manage.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. I just a few more questions.
Okay.
Did you kill Maggie?
No. Did I kill my wife?
Yes, sir.
No, David.
Do you know who did?
No, I do not know who did.
Did you kill Paul?
No, I did not kill Paul.
Do you know who did?
No, sir, I do not know who did. Do you think I killed Maggie?
I have to go where the evidence and the facts
I
take me.
understand that. And you think I killed Paul?
I have to go where the evidence and the facts take me, and I don't have anything that points to anybody else at this time.
So does that mean that I am a suspect?
You were still in, like I told Corey earlier, you were still in this. with everything that we've talked about, with the family guns, the ammunition, nobody else's DNA. I have to put my beliefs aside and go with the facts.
Then came the moment of truth. The detective went straight for the jugular. Was Murdaugh the killer? He denied it, hard, then tried to turn the tables. "Am I a suspect?" he asked. But that back and forth wasn't fooling anyone. The session ended, but the investigation didn't. There were still so many loose threads, too many, in fact, for Murdaugh to hide behind. Eventually, the truth caught up. Murdaugh was convicted and handed 2 life sentences, back-to-back with 0 chance of parole. If you're into dissecting chilling interrogations like this one, don't forget to subscribe to the channel.